So good morning, good morning. So I'm sitting down with the gorgeous Nadia Gledhill today. She's based out in Australia, and it's a great joy to have you here, Nadia. From what I can understand, so you specialize in many beautiful different healing modalities, but specifically in something called Quantum Healing Hypnosis, and you also work with past life regression. It is such an honor to have you here. So welcome to the podcast, Nadia, and please introduce yourself in any other way that I
Yeah.
may not have done.
No, thank you, Josephine. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I love chatting about my work, and the difference that can make. So yeah, I'm really honored and to be here with you today.
Amazing. And for our listeners, so basically, I post a lot on Instagram myself, but I hardly ever sort of explore the space. But for some reason, Nadia, you popped into my feed, and every single post, every creation every message that you bring out, I'm just always so inspired by. And so I always go with my gut feeling, and hence why when you sort of once again had one of those creation out there, I just immediately thought, let me ask if Nadia's up for this because every post you have, it feels so, it's so your energy flowing through it is so genuine, it's so beautiful, it's so inspiring and empowering, and just this deep feeling of inclusivity. So I just really wanted to share that we haven't actually met. This is the first time that we're meeting here on screen, but it's really beautiful. So Nadia, talk us through a little bit about your own story, if you like. Where were you born, and what kind of family system, family structure were you born into?
Yeah, so I was born in Melbourne. And yeah, I mean, I had the regular type of family structure, mum, dad, sibling. So pretty unremarkable, in that respect, sort of the cookie cutter, nuclear family type setup. And I've always lived in Melbourne in different areas, but always been in Melbourne my whole life.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
And then as a kid growing up, were you one of several different siblings, or how many were you?
One sibling.
Yeah.
So I have an older brother, who's a few years older than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, it was a pretty normal type childhood, I suppose, as far as normal goes.
Yeah.
You know, the my parents stayed together, which is actually pretty abnormal these days, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, we all still get along.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
it was an interesting time, I suppose,
Mm,
but not in a bad way. It was a
okay.
good childhood.
Understood. And so growing up, so take us back when Nadia, when you were around, when you were little or in your teenage years, when did you know what you wanted to do with your life here, and what kind of path did it take you on initially?
That's a good question. You know what? I still don't know what I want to do with my life. Having said that, and what I mean by that is we're always changing and evolving. I struggled, like a lot of people, struggled with what am I going to do when I grow up? What should when I'm in high school and they put that pressure on you, you've got to pick your classes so that you can go to the uni course that you want. And I remember thinking, well, I don't want to go to uni because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, so yeah, I suppose I never really knew what I wanted to do. I mean, I knew that I wanted to help people in some way, feel useful, I suppose. But in terms of exactly how that looked, I had no idea. And I think most people don't, or if they do it, it can change. So I'm very open to that. I'm very open to always exploring new things. But yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? I mean, who knows when you're a child what you want to be when you grow up?
100%. And then we grow up, and then I think you really hit the nail, the pin on the nail, whatever you call it in English, nail on the head. In that, you said, do we ever truly know what we want to do? How we want to spend our time here. And I think it's as much as that can feel challenging in a system that tells you you have to know, and then you have to live an ABC
Mm,
life that can feel so hard and so overwhelming. But I think actually it's our most authentic way of living is to live the question and to live in the wonder. Because if you don't know, then there's space for everything. You know, if you don't know, then you can, you know, it's like we take a walk in the forest, right? Or we walk on the beach. And yes, we may have an idea that let's walk towards the sunset. Or, you know, we're walking in the forest and we're like, oh, there's water coming from somewhere. And we start walking down that path towards the water. But then all of a sudden a horse appears and we go, well, the horse is nice. And, you know, my point is, then we are open. We're in this receptive space where we can go, oh, let's walk with life. Let's not try and push life into this restrictive space, right? Because for me,
Yes.
that is the most natural thing about being alive, is that we are evolving with life and walking with life and guided with life. So I totally get, from a rational perspective, it's like, okay, we're born into this world and then school tells you have to be a certain way. And then, you know, because otherwise you don't have money, and then who are you and all this kind of stuff. But I think, thank you so much for your openness in going, I don't think we ever really truly know. And I'm always, you know, evolving. And just like my plants in my house, I always talk about nature. Yeah, none of my plants come into my life and go, Josie, I'm going to be 2 centimeters tall and that's me done. And I'm going to turn into a rose and I will never change color and I will bloom at this time, at this day, you know. So thank you, you know,
Yeah.
this is so potent. Okay, so anyway, this was your sort of upbringing going, okay, well, maybe I tried this and maybe I tried that. And okay, and then in terms of, you know, let's say when you're around, I have no idea what age you are, by the way, but let's say when you were in your sort of like mid to late 20s, where were you at in your life, Nadia? So in terms of
Mid,
yeah, go on.
oh no, so yeah, I was going to say, so mid to late 20s, where was I? I was, well, a couple of jobs in, you know, I'd done different things. Was never really happy in terms of work. Um, you know, I had met my now husband when I was, I don't know how old I was actually. I would have been 24 or 25 when we met. Um, so, you know, I was in that sort of new relationship and that was all good, but I did feel like there was something still missing because although, you know, I say don't know what I want to be when I grow up, you know, I don't think it matters as so much how you do something. Or for example, you know, I knew I wanted to help people. I just didn't know how or which route to take. You know, do I do counseling? Do I do psychology? Do I become a nurse? Do I like what, you know, there's so many different ways you can help people. But the role I was in and the roles I had been in weren't really helping people the way I wanted. And so, you know, I did feel a bit, I don't know, empty, I suppose. Something was lacking. Didn't really, even at the time, I think I didn't really realize what was lacking other than I just didn't like my job, you know. So it was an interesting time. You know, I was happy in so many other aspects of my life, but didn't like my work. You know, and I've always been very spiritually inclined ever since I was little. Always into things that are a little bit left of center, a little bit different. I've always been a real thinker. I'll question everything, only from the perspective of wanting to understand, you know, more than anything else, you know, wanting to really understand how things work. And, you know, I actually really even love different people's, you know, opinions and points of view. I'm very flexible. I'm open to changing my mind. I'm not set in my ways. You know, if someone has a good argument for something, I'll consider it, you know, so it's, but
Yeah,
yeah, so that time in my life was interesting. You know, so many aspects of my life were great, but I did feel like something was lacking.
right.
And in hindsight, isn't hindsight a lovely thing? I realized it
Yeah,
was my work, but you know, didn't realize that at the time, really.
of course, absolutely. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that must have taken you down lots of different paths, lots of different avenues. And at what point, because obviously what you know, what you sort of like at least share with the world is this quantum healing hypnosis technique and the past life regression. At what point did that start to become a little seed in your mind, or was it always there in the background? Like, do you remember the first time you were kind of introduced to it?
It was never really a seed. So what happened, or the way I was introduced, I think like a lot of people, I stumbled across Dolores Cannon and her work. And I recall watching a video. She was at a lecture talking about her book, Between Death and Life.
Mm.
And I watched this, it was like a 1 hour talk that she did. And I just remember so much of what she was saying was resonating on such a deep level.
Mm.
I felt it. The only way I can describe it is it was as if my soul was saying everything, this is right. This is what she's saying is true. And so that really intrigued me. And it didn't intrigue me to the point where I thought, oh, I want to do this, but I was very interested in having a session myself. I thought, oh, wow, I'd be really curious to have a session. This sounds really cool. I can go to a past life or somewhere else, get some answers. And I think even at the time, I didn't really know what answers I wanted or needed because I suppose I didn't really know. I was more curious. I was very open. I wasn't too set in I need answers to X, Y, Z. And so I went along and had a session and it was great. And at the time, I remember it so well. I remember, talking about it with everyone. I was like, this is great. I had past life and this is what came up and this is what my subconscious or my higher self said. And it wasn't until it was a few months later that I realized one day, just like an epiphany, a download out of nowhere came to me, and I realized that since that session, my life was better. And when I say my life was better, I mean outwardly it was still the same. I still had the same job. I, was with my partner, and that was always good anyway. So everything was surface level still the same, but my life felt better. And I realized then that it was from that session because there were things that I discovered about myself, or I suppose it really gave me some clarity around different things around my life and actually made me realize the role that I was playing in my own happiness and, things that I was unhappy with, realized I had the power to change and things like that. And so in those preceding few months, little changes I'd made in my life, speaking up for myself more. And, guess what? The world didn't cave in when I did that, So all these little things that I had been doing unknowingly, actually, it wasn't a conscious thing. I just started doing it. And yeah, I just remember thinking, oh, wow, all from that session. And the change that it provided me just through receiving some answers and some clarity around my life was huge. And I thought, wow, that's when it hit me again. I was like, this is what I need to do. I want to give this a shot. And so, yeah, and then I was, a bit cautious in the beginning because, there are so many things I'd considered and started and lost interest and, it just never felt right. But yeah, decided, oh, I'm just going to give this a shot. And I started the course. And the minute I started the course, I just knew, everything just really felt so aligned. And for me, it was very easy to learn. It was almost like I'd done it before. It was very, very easy for me. And yeah, it's been great since. So, that's how that all came about. So it was never really a seed. I was never really thinking, oh, I want to learn this one day. It was more just I came across the modality, I had a session, and yeah, a few months later, I all of a sudden, like a bat to the head, it was like, this is what I need to do. So that's how that all came about.
Oh my God, I love this. This is so beautiful. And I love how you keep saying it felt right. So it was a felt experience. that thing. And I think this is what, when something resonates, I mean, resonance is a vibration, right? And so that's your whole body, your whole cells, your whole being going, this is for me. So we talk about a full
Mm,
bodied yes, right? It's not a thought. It's not a rational, ooh, this makes sense for me. Like it's a felt feeling. And the way I always like to connect it to is kind of similar to, just so everyone, also listeners that are like, okay, this sounds interesting, but healing, hypnosis, I'm not sure. But just the thing is, what we are all sure about is we've all been in love. That's a feeling. You don't think your way to falling in love. You don't sit there and go, ooh, this would really make sense if I fall in love with that dude over there, or woman, right? It's like, it's a full body experience. And so it's that same thing with you, the way you're talking about the experience. Like, okay, you came across it, but something within you was like, let me try a little more. And so you dug a little deeper, you had the session yourself, and then you were like, oh wow, like you said, it was like, you were well, I'm just going to call it like remembering, like your body was going yes, 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 yes. And then even when you dived in and you're like, let me study this again, the reason maybe perhaps it was easy for you is because it really is you, it is so you. And I think that's just
mm,
like this physical experience is such an important parameter for like a compass going, is something for me, is something not for me. And in the head, the mind, which always has its own agenda and always trying to keep us safe, etc., it can get so
mhm,
confusing. It's like, oh, but I should and I could but the body doesn't lie. The body has no other agenda than essentially going like, yes, this is you, or no, this isn't you. Your body's always on your side. So I think this is it's just such a beautiful, so beautiful to hear about it. So
mm.
lovely, Nadia. When was this? Is this recently? Is this a few years ago? When did this happen?
Would have been about 4 years ago now.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so
four,
still,
4.5 years ago.
wow, amazing. So still kind of recently. Okay,
Yeah,
amazing. I
yeah,
love that. So beautiful.
yeah.
And are you? Because I was trying to look into it a little bit. Are you mainly seeing people in person? Is still the thing, or are you also doing certain things online?
Well, yeah, there's the quantum healing hypnosis technique, which
Yeah,
is the Dolores Cannon method,
yeah,
which that can only be done in person.
yeah,
And I also do different, there's many different versions out there, but I also do quantum hypnosis, which I deliver online.
yeah,
And so they're very similar modalities in the sense that, it allows your higher self to, well, we allow your higher self to guide you to the most appropriate time and place to get answers. And then we connect in with the subconscious or higher self to gain further clarification. So they're very, very similar in those respects. It's, with the Dolores Cannon method, obviously, there's a certain way that they want that delivered. And of course, I respect that. And that's only done in person.
yeah,
And that is a beautiful experience too. It is nice actually being face to face with someone in person.
yeah.
It's just, the quantum hypnosis is just as effective online as the quantum healing hypnosis technique is in person.
Mm,
It really, I think, comes down to the client themselves, the person who's having the session. If they feel more comfortable in person, then, find someone you can go to in person, or if they're comfortable online, do that too. It's all the same. It all works through energy anyway. So there's no issues there with distance or anything like that.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I totally
yeah.
agree. And it is always, like you said, it's also about the match between the practitioner and the client coming in, right? So it's always, you know,
Yes.
it's not just the technique. It is so much about, your energy and the other person's energy. And there's always, because I have a lot of people coming to me, and because I do energy healing as well, and people are like, oh, who can you recommend? And I'm like, I will recommend people that I resonate with, but the most important thing is how you feel when you hear their name, when you read what they're writing about, when you see them. Like, you have to trust your own physical body. Your body will tell you
Hmm.
whether this is,
Yes.
because it might also be that it's not that that person is not a good person or a bad person. It's not about that at all. It's just about the two of you together at that moment in time. It might even be that you meet each
Mm.
other 5 years from now and you're like, whoa, now we're, this is the moment. But it's always relates back to that thing. It is, energy work is always about the people involved, more so than the modality itself, I would say. But what I want
Yes.
to ask, gorgeous Nadia, is for someone who's brand new to this technique, has never heard about quantum healing hypnosis, especially the whole quantum bit, which I love. But could you describe a little more in detail to sort of a complete, someone who's curious but haven't got a clue, what is this about?
Yes, good question. So, what it's about. So essentially, it's a form of hypnosis where the client's higher self is in control. And what I mean by that is, so your traditional, let's call it traditional or clinical hypnosis, relies on, I mean, still in that sense, the client is in control, but it relies on the practitioner, I suppose, implanting, suggestions and things like that into the subconscious mind, maybe to change a habit or whatever the case may be that they're going there for. Um, and I like to think with the quantum hypnosis, it's in reverse, really. As a practitioner, it's not my job to implant suggestions or anything like that. It's my job to guide the client into that beautiful state of relaxation where we allow their higher self to take them to the most appropriate time and place. And, for most people, that's a past life. Sometimes it's somewhere else. Sometimes people will go back to scenes in their current lifetime. Sometimes they will go to, I mean, just still technically a past life, but they'll go to, say, a life where they were an animal or a plant, or they might go back to a lifetime on another planet, or they may go to a time where they didn't have a physical body, they were consciousness. And that's always really interesting to explore as well, what they're doing, where they are, what's happening. But, whatever place that their higher self guides them to, it's my job to just ask lots of questions, get lots of detail. And then from that, well, once we've explored whatever experience, we then connect with the higher self itself. And, that's where I get to ask even more questions, around the experience that they just had, around, the questions that the client has, because clients will come in with a set of questions, things they want to know about their life. And it's my job really just to ask lots of questions and get the answers. And then, yeah, I mean, and there's so many different reasons why someone would have this session. Some people are just simply curious. Some people have, even physical things that they want answers to, physical ailments, health issues that they want help with or healing for, which the higher self can provide. So there are so many different reasons. And it really is a very, it's a very powerful technique, but it's very gentle at the same time, and I think there are so many people out there who believe that hypnosis is a form of control, or, I'm going to be asleep and you're going to make me cluck like a chicken, or, and it's really not. It's just this beautiful state of relaxation. And of course, they're lucid, they're talking to me throughout. They have to be. I mean, we need to get these answers, right? But so it's so powerful, but so gentle at the same time. And it's, I suppose, because the higher self is guiding the session, the higher self will, like I say, take them to most appropriate time and place. And the reason why that's so important is because on a conscious level, we don't know what we need. We may think we know what we need, or we may want something or a certain experience, but that may not be what we need at this point in our life, and so the higher self essentially will always bring you somewhere to get answers that you need right now, as well as perhaps even, again, every session is so different, but usually the advice or the information it gives you allows you to take those next steps in your life. Sometimes people want the 20 steps ahead, or they're looking at the end goal, but it's really about those next steps. You've got to walk before you can run. So it's just such a beautiful, like I said, gentle, but such a powerful modality.
I absolutely loved it. And what I really love as well is that it's a collaboration. So it's such an empowering way to experience healing. Or even, if you listeners out there, if the word healing feels scary or it's unknown to you, replace it by guidance, support, even therapy, like just that thing of you're not alone in this. So not only is Nadia talking about Nadia holding the space and being sort of the conduit of just keeping everything really safe and sacred, almost cocooning you in energy, but also that, you know, what I love about you, Nadia, is that you're not telling your client, hey, you need to do XYZ and then everything will be perfect. We're really inquiring, we're getting curious together, and you are, once you've placed, you've guided your client into that really nice relaxed state where we are more receptive and we are able to then let your client actually talk from that higher space, like, right, that higher self. And so it's always an empowered experience. So because I think so many people out there, so there are people obviously like you and me who are like totally in this world and yay, can't get enough. But then there's also people that are kind of standing on the edge with dipping a toe in and going, I kind of want this, but I have so many limited belief systems and I'm kind of scared about this whole experience. And I just think really hearing those words that, coming to you, they're not going to be told who they are and who they are not. It's really just sort of an unraveling, a releasing the grip of the tightness that the gripping mind normally gets you into, in all of the conditioned voices of everyone else in your life and other lives, but really allowing your true self to gently be guided forward and to actually speak up. And I think, so it's such an empowering experience. And I'm sitting here with my nice big mic on my podcast, right? Like this thing of reclaiming one's authentic voice, right? And really hearing that. And that's just what I was really getting when you were talking. Just so soothing, gentle, and yet incredibly powerful experience. The words that are coming into my mind right now, Nadia, is like you provide the space to allow, to give permission to someone's higher self to step forward and take center stage for once, right? And
Yes, yeah.
that higher self has always been there. And so again, in Nadja sessions, sorry, I'm really talking to the listeners now, but in Nadja sessions, it's like, it's not like, it's not like you are not you. It's like Nadia's guiding her client to step forward and to remember who they've always been. So it's a deep remembering and it's a deep permission slip to grab that mic and actually speak your truth and to just be heard, really be heard, being witnessed, not being judged, not being told off or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting here going, oh, Nadia, I want a session. This sounds amazing.
Yeah, and it's what I love as well is no one will know you better than your higher self. And so, whilst you can get advice from other people, no one knows you better than your higher self. So why not just go straight to the source? And there are so many times in sessions where someone will be going through an experience and, I call it my human brain. My human brain kicks in and I think, oh, I see the connection here. That makes so much sense or whatever. But I don't verbalize that, of course, because I could be wrong. And honestly, like 95% of the time I am. And it's, it's crazy how it works. Sometimes things seem very obvious. But when you actually question the higher self as to what that connection is or what X has to do with Y, whatever the case may be, and the higher self provides an answer, funnily enough, it's always so logical. When you have those moments where something seems so obvious, you think, how could I have missed this? That is so obvious, right? So there are often moments like that. And, clients will often say, oh my gosh, afterwards I said that, yeah, that makes so much sense. Why hadn't I thought of that before? It's the answers actually, are often very, very logical in a sense. But, because they're so logical and so obvious, we miss them.
I love that.
And so getting that direct, yeah.
No, I love that. It's like that saying, truth is simple. truth is not complicated. When something is really true in you, like you're talking about, this is resonating with me, that's your truth. That's whatever it is you are listening to, that is resonating with your own truth. Like, truth is simple, it just makes sense, but it makes physical sense. Again, that full-bodied yes. And it's so funny because we live in a world where, a lot of things outside of us like to overcomplicate things, right? So it's like, oh, but again, if we just go back to like almost all the different scriptures across all different religions and wise people, there's always the same thing. It's like, be like kids again, right? Like, kids are quite, in the end of the day, they're quite simple. They will tell you if they like you, and they will also tell you if they don't like you. That purity of just that, like, oh, this is yummy, oh no, that's bad. It's just this simplicity that I think, as we grow up, we get told that, oh no, we have to, we so often think that we have to think our way out of a challenge, and we have this idea that the thinking must be complicated, and so the answers must be complicated. The answers that we're seeking must be so complicated. And like you said, it's like, is that aha moment where it's like, this is so obvious.
Yes, yes. And it's interesting you say that, when you said life is, or things are often so simple, and they really are. Even going back to what we were talking about earlier with, what I want to be when I grow up, or what is my life purpose, or we always think or try to overthink things, and so when, and that's a common question people actually come in with, is they want to know what their purpose is. They want to know what they're meant to be doing with their life. And the answers are always so simple. It's never, I've never had anyone, say, oh, I need to, be the leader of some country, or colonize Mars, or cure cancer. It's never anything grand. But I think as a society, we put pressure on people from such a young age that you have to tick all of these boxes in order to be something, or to be successful, to have a purpose, and it's really not. It really, really isn't. A lot of the time people's purpose comes down to, helping people, and actually it doesn't even matter how they do it. It's about how they make people feel. It might be related to, love, or, sharing love or light. There's very, very simple, I suppose, purposes out there. But when you actually zoom out and look at it, they are so much more impactful than, I'm going to, run a country, or become a singer, famous singer, or, the impact you can have on people, even just the people around you, and then the domino effect that then has to the people around them, and so on and so on. It's actually quite a big impact you can have. But we do tend to overcomplicate things 100%.
I
all the
loved it.
time.
I loved it. And I think it's such a juicy thing you were just talking about. But I think this thing of like, it's also because we attach stories, right? So if someone comes to you or come to me and they're like, oh, I used to love singing when I was younger, but I didn't make it into a professional singer, but I miss singing. And it's like, well, you want to sing, so sing. We don't have to attach the famous or successful. And then what is successful to you? Is it when 2 people come to your concert? Is it when 2,000? It's the story we attach, right? But the simplicity, the truth of the matter is, this person loves singing, and she used to do it when she was a kid, and then someone along the way told her that she would never make money, wouldn't be successful doing it. But actually, the simple truth for her is, she has a voice, and she loves sharing that voice, and that's actually her gift to humanity, right? And so that you're so right. It's that thing we overcomplicate it. We attach stories, attach things that to measure that we are good enough somehow, right? Whereas it's like, actually, you enjoy doing that thing. Similar to going back to the first question I was asking you, like a little while ago, when you were like, I don't think we will ever truly know what we want to be, in inverted commas, but what we can know and what we can dig into is why we want to do a thing. So for you and for me as well, my thing was always, and it sounds like the same for you, I just wanted to help people. It was just really simple. Ever since I was a kid, I was like, I get so much joy from helping others. And then I tried lots of different things, and it was always, I remember I walked down the street once, Nadia, because I was like, okay, then I must be a ballerina, and then I trained at the Royal Danish Ballet, and and then I must be, and this other thing, and all those things are beautiful. I still love dancing, but I was walking down the street one day, and I was like, Josie, just do what you've always done. Like, you're just here to spread joy. It's really simple. So, and you do that, so then my job is just, I walk down the street and I actually look at people and I smile at the people I'm next to and I have a little conversation, and that's kind of my job done. Like, it's so basic, and that thing of, again, about purpose, like you said, it's not what we do as such, it's why we do it. It's the intention behind it. That intention carries everything. And if we can stay to that intention. So for instance, with the singer, she loved singing because it brought her a lot of joy and probably spread a lot of joy to those around her naturally, like in her immediate environment, right? So actually her intention was just joy. Like, it was joy that was guiding it. And so if we can go back to our intention and let that be the fuel, let that be the driving force, life just flows a lot more smoothly and all of that. So I loved it. I love the simplicity. Amazing, Nadia.
And it's interesting as well, I was just thinking when you were saying, what do we want to be when we grow up? Well, I was just thinking, well, who says we have to be anything? Like that's the whole point. We don't have to be anything. It's what we do, and I think it's more about how we live our lives, the impact we have on others, not attaching a label and being something. What does that even mean? Because you can be something in your environment, in your world, but I mean, a bit of an extreme, I know, but the tribes in Amazon that have probably never seen another human outside of their own tribe, they're not going to they're really not going to care about what you are and what you're doing. So it's all very relative to the world that you live in, to your reality, the world that you're experiencing. And so, you can be something, but I mean, at the end of the day, we're all here living this current existence of ours, this current incarnation. And when we go to the other side, none of that matters. It doesn't matter whether you became the famous singer or whether you, I don't know, cured some disease or had some other, became the head of a law firm. I don't know, like all these things that people are doing. And I mean, look, of course, if people want to actually do that makes them happy, I'm all for it.
100%.
But the point I make is I think we shouldn't be putting pressure on ourselves or on others to do or be certain things. Just be a good person.
That's it.
Just do what makes you happy, be a good person. And I think you can't go wrong with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So pursue whatever you're going to pursue, whatever you're going to use your precious time on this beautiful blue planet on, pursue it for the right reasons, the reasons that actually light you up personally. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. I love that. And so, Nadia, where are you at in your life now? So you've got your gorgeous clients, you're still with your wonderful husband, you're in Melbourne. What is a typical day for you like?
Oh, there's probably no such thing as a typical day. Well, it depends on, I suppose, what I'm doing. I mean, I do some admin, like, it could be seeing clients, it could be admin. I do tarot readings as well, so I have those clients. It's a little bit of everything,
Okay.
but I like that. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like my life. I love it. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I love the flow, and I love that, like, very often things change very last minute, and I really loved it. So I love the spontaneity. And what I'm really joyful for about today is I love talking with you, and especially because you're using everything as symbols as well. So knowing that you do tarot, I do oracle readings as well. And it's just this thing of, allowing oneself to, because again, for listeners out there who are like, oh, but if I get this card, does it mean XYZ? Well, it's about what it symbolizes for you, for that person, right? And to live in a world where we start to to again walk with life. So I'm not outside on top of planet Earth. We are in the Earth, and Earth and life is working with us and for us. Like, it's such a beautiful way to explore life. And I also love what you said earlier on, where you were talking about, I'm not set in any one way. I'm not sitting here going, oh, you're like, I actually really like listening to other people's opinions and perspective, and having this beautiful mindset of exploration, you know, is just so wonderful. And my long story, just to go around to sitting here going, I'm curious, Nadia, would you share with us what's your astrological signs? What's your moon? What's your sun? Do you know?
What am I? Yeah, I do. Now I've had a mind blank. No, I'm an Aries sun, um, Virgo rising, and a Gemini moon.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Okay, so you've got, I mean, so I'm a fire sign myself. I love a good fire sign. So I loved it. You've got the Aries as well. And then your moon was Gemini. So that's
Hmm.
an air sign, right? So it's like air with fire. Those two like normally make even more fire. So that's super fiery,
Hmm.
very amazing. And then you've got the Virgo rising, right? So the
Hmm.
Virgo is very sort of detail orientated and goes very in depth. And he's actually one of, I mean, I love a Virgo. I think it's such a beautiful archetype. And it's so important that we have the Virgos on this planet, even though it can be, I think I have a friend who's a Virgo, and for her at times she can feel like she's quite a perfectionist, and she can be like, I can't get to the depth of this to her extent that she wants, but it's so beautiful to have them around. So you have all this fire. How do you personally relax yourself and calm down and
I
rebalance? What's
don't.
your thing?
Um, I do. I mean, I do relax, but I don't. Even when I'm relaxed, my mind is going. But I mean, yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I feel like I don't relax. I'm always doing something,
Yeah,
and even when I'm still, my mind is constantly going.
yeah.
I'm always, because I'm very curious by nature too. So, I'm always questioning everything, and wanting to know, well, how does that work? And how does, why is that like that? And what's the history of this? And,
Uh,
so I'm always, always on the go.
yeah. Okay, I totally get that.
But
And I'm exactly the same.
yeah,
And I think
yeah,
that
yeah,
also
it can
relates,
be hard.
right. Totally. But I think it also relates back to the same thing, which is it's actually one that I share with my clients a lot. So out of all of my many, many planets, I think you can have, well, obviously your whole horoscope is massive, but sort of out of the 12 main houses, seven of mine are in Sagittarius. So I have fire with fire with fire. But I think, again, it goes back to the same thing that we started talking about, is that thing of like, well, that's my authentic blueprint. And again, if I was a plant, I would just be that plant that was blooming all the time. And yeah, at times that's a bit intense for me and for
Yeah.
others. And similar to you, it's like you've got a really inquisitive mind, and that's also why doing what you do, spend your time doing here, and questioning everything, that's like, as much as at times I'm sure you want to be like, oh my God, can I just switch off? But in the end of the day, it's such a gift to this planet, and also for you. Like, you are going to be continuing to uncover and see things from 500 different perspectives, where so many people go like, oh, things are just like this and this is how it is. And that means you're always evolving and your mind is always expanding, which is so beautiful. Um, my lovely Nadia, so because of time, I want to take us into the direction of our gorgeous questions. So, can I ask you, would you mind sharing, and obviously only if you feel like it, how old are you? Because you look so super young, and I'm
Good
like, but
question.
but I'm trying to,
I've got
yeah.
to do the math. I'm very bad with age. How old am I? I am, what year are we? 25, born in 80, so I'm 43.
Okay, amazing. No, it's so fun. And thank you so much for sharing that. Because I'm sitting here and I was like, you look so young. But then the way you're talking, I was trying to make it match. And I was like, I think we're similar in age, but I couldn't quite. Okay, fantastic. So with the wisdom that you sit in now, Nadia, with everything that life has guided you in and out of, with everything you've, all of the journeys you've taken, both inside and outside, if you had just one or two soul messages for humanity, what would they be and why?
Oh, well, the first one that came to mind really was don't take anything seriously. Like, I know that sounds like, but really don't, because at the end of the day, the things that we stress about, I know don't matter when we get to the other side. So, it pays to zoom out, look at it from the perspective of, and this might sound a little bit strange or morbid, but sometimes if I have something that upsets me or whatever, I tend to go, hang on, I'll pause and I'll say, okay, well, when I'm finished with this life and I'm on the other side and I'm looking back at my entire lifetime, will that matter? And it really won't. And so I always just think, yeah, don't take anything too seriously, because none of us get out of this life alive. And so, just spend time doing what you enjoy and looking after people around you and making sure that, you're always doing right by other people. And yeah, I think that would be a big, big message, and something that I've actually learned even more over the years of doing the quantum hypnosis, because you see it time and time and time again with clients when they pass over from that past life and they go to the other side and they review their life. You actually learn what matters and what doesn't, and what matters is the relationships that we had, how we made people feel, the little arguments or the trophies and achievements, they actually don't mean anything. So just enjoy life the best you can.
Oh my God, I love that so much. And what I especially love is that obviously I didn't know this about you, we obviously both share a love of, how can I put this without sounding morbid? Carrying, holding, inviting in death as a friend. I think because I do it all the time as well, because people go to me and they're like, "Oh, you're so courageous, you do this thing," and I'm like, No, I don't see it as courage. Death gives us so much perspective. It is such a
Mhm.
beautiful thing, and that thing, like you said, what we, as the conscious mind, the rational mind, always want to zoom in on what appears to be lacking or the problem, because we think that by zooming in, we're going to get out of there having a brilliant idea. But actually, as we all know, we zoom in and now we're too close to the problem that all we can see is the problem. We can't see any solution, right? And so
Exactly.
so what death does is death allows us to kind of zoom back out and go, hey, perspective. And like you said,
Exactly.
especially with your experience working, daily with people, talking about different lifetimes and talking about, completely normalizing that it's not a matter of if we die, but when, this is the one thing, again, a common thing that actually connects us all, not just to life, but also to one another. We live here for such a short time. We're here for a split second and we have no idea how long or how short. And again, that actually encourages even more to live a life in really like in alignment with whatever we are on the inside. Like it's so beautiful. And that is also what death gives us, you know.
Hmm.
Oh, so I love this so much. And also like sorry, I know I was asking you for your message and I'm sitting here juicing it out, but it just personally makes me so happy because it's you know another thing is so often we don't do something in life out of fear, right? But if we break down fear, quite often fear can also cover shame, and if we break down shame, then the ultimate shame and the ultimate fear is actually that we're going to be alone, away from the group. And then if we break that down and we go deeper, is that the even deeper level of that is that we are going to die. And so it's that thing of, well, we're going to die anyway. Let's make friends with death. Death is a beautiful thing. So let it inspire you to not worry. Like you said, like, let's spend less time zooming in on what we appears to be the problem right here, right now. And let's keep remembering that in those last seconds of life on this earth, or as we're passing over, whatever people's beliefs are, I think, let's open it up. But,
Hmm.
those moments, as we review our life, and again, so many people always talk about that, right? They see their life flashing through in those last moments. And if you are so lucky that in those last moments, you're surrounded by loved ones or just one loved one, if you are so lucky to have that, then you're not going to lie there and go, oh my God, did that thing get sorted? Or thank God I got that trophy. You're so right. Like what we're going to lie to is the feeling, it's the love that we carry for others, it's the relationships, it's the connections, whether it's animals or somewhere in nature or your family, friends, whatever it is. Like, that's what we not just take with us, but what carries us. And so I'm so happy that you touched on that. And actually, it should have been the most obvious thing for us to talk about, because obviously past last regression. But absolutely beautiful, Nadia. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing I would say is, don't take anything seriously. Zoom
Absolutely.
out.
And also, just also going back to this thing of like when you're talking to people and through them remembering things from their past lives, it's that thing again. I always say it just, if one has a loved one that passes over, I always go, what the dead can teach us about living. When you lose someone all of a sudden in your life, whether they're close to you or far away, I think we all get this reminder of like, whoa, this is going to happen, right? And it's like, and again, it kind of like urges us, like it can be a springboard into more action on, again, just, of what matters. But I think that thing of like people coming to you and then remembering things from their past lives and gaining that perspective, and then again can be a springboard to why they may want to choose differently in this lifetime. I certainly have. Actually, I want to tell you a brief story about me if you have the time. Do you have time a little bit?
Yes.
We good?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I was 30 years old, and one day I woke up and I had this really deep feeling I had to go to Glastonbury, to Avalon. I had done zero research. I always highlight this. I always just follow what feels right. And so off I went to Glastonbury for my birthday. And next thing you know, I'd been told by a friend, go and see this incredible healer. It's a shamanic healer. And I called up the healing school, it's a shamanic healing place. And I spoke to a woman and I was like, is Jay there? I would love to have a session. I heard so much good about her. And there's a really long silence and she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, is Kestrel there? I've heard so much good about him and I would love to have a session. And she's like, no. And then I'm like, will anyone be there? There's an extended long break. And she goes with a really tiny voice, I will. And I was like, well, obviously you're the one for me. I'm super excited. Can't wait to come and meet you. So anyway, I go in, I have the session, Nadia. I just, I sort of signed up for a healing session, not shamanic, because her name was Dolores, she did a different modality, but, gorgeous healing session. And I hardly ever have done any healing sessions in my life, like received them myself, by the way. I haven't done that many. But this time I felt like this is so right. This is just the right moment. So I went in and I had always been very interested in past lives, but part of me had always been scared. Part of me had always been like, I don't know. I was kind of worried that maybe I would find out something that I wouldn't be able to handle knowing, because I felt like, oh, well, this lifetime is already hard enough. Like there's so much going on that I'm trying to make my peace with. And then if I also know about 500 other lifetimes, like that's too much to carry, right? Yeah. So I'd always been a bit scared. And so I hadn't asked her, I hadn't gone like, oh, can you do some past life regression? But it's actually what ended up happening. So I was sitting in this room with her and all of a sudden, she put me into this beautiful relaxed state. And then the whole room, she didn't tell me this, but the whole room started spinning. My eyes were closed. The whole room started spinning. But I felt very safe with her. I never felt my body levitating, but my body started to levitate. And I kept going, well, Josie, you can always open your eyes if you get too scared, and I felt really safe. And then she started to take me back. And without going into details about my own past life, what really helped me so much is that I had a similar experience to you. Everything she shared with me, I'm getting goosebumps right now. Everything she shared was literally like she had walked into my soul and had a cup of tea with her, right? But with so much love, with so much deep understanding, there was zero judgment. It was just someone finally seeing me, and which allowed me to see me as well. It was this beautiful thing. And then because I now knew at that point, I knew that there were other lifetimes where I had held myself back because I had been too scared to be seen. And also it was different times. As a woman, it was very dangerous to be seen, and especially if you had any kind of connection to nature, or could be deemed as a witch, and all of this. And so here she was, and she was just talking to my soul. She was like, "You're a healer, Josie," and I was like, and this tiny voice in me was like, "I know." but I'm too scared, And because I now,
Hmm.
fast forward, because I now at that point was told that you had these abilities and you did it to the best of your ability, but actually you kept sort of being behind a veil, you kept being in this big sort of palace thing. And then, it really gave me this boost to go, I shall not let that happen in this lifetime. This warrior woman came out in
Hmm.
me. So
Hmm.
personally, I just wanted to share that it literally pivoted my entire life. Like I'd always done energy healing, but always on the side and never really talked about it. My mom was also like, my mom is a healer, but she was like, we don't talk about it, And all of a sudden I was screaming it from the rooftops, So it really was one of the most profound experiences of my life. So I deeply believe in what you do and your just from my heart to yours on a soul to soul level, Nadia, I just want to really thank you for stepping into this role in this lifetime and for providing this much needed support for everyone that comes into your life. So thank you.
Oh, no, you're welcome. And, I really, really enjoy doing what I do. In fact, I often say I don't really do anything. When I, because it's really the client and the client's higher self that's doing most of the work. I'm holding the space for them. I'm allowing them to, you know, really dive within themselves, get the answers from their own higher self. And I'm just guiding them on that process, and so they're the ones actually doing the majority of the work, really. Although in the moment it's quite easy for them, and I suppose it's more work for me in the sense that, I'm continually questioning and, getting the information. But really the real work, the real healing, it comes from them. And so, it's just a beautiful space to be in. It's a beautiful thing to be able to do for people, to essentially empower them to be able to do that for themselves.
100%, 100%. And I just wanted like, add on to that again, that comes back to that thing of how you said when you found this, when you had the experience yourself and you started studying and you were like, this came so easy to me. And I think again, in society, we often grow up with that no pain, no gain, which can be like, oh, well, if it's easy, it's not right for me. It's not difficult enough. And it's
Mm.
like, no, actually, if it's really right for you, it's really easy. Because
Hmm.
it resonates so deeply with me. Like, like I always tell everyone, I'm like, I just sort of mentally step out of the way, and everything moves through me. Like it's not me, it's not Josephine sitting there orchestrating anything. Like so. I
Hmm.
so agree. And again, that's that full body. Like, yes, this is for you. Nadia, thank
Mm.
you so much. It's been such a joy, such a pleasure to have you here. And um, just, I will put everything in the show notes in terms of your bio and where people can find you, but also please share with people right here, right now, what's the best way for listeners to find you and to somehow be involved with all of your gorgeous offerings?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my Instagram handle, is that what they call my Instagram handle, is qhht.australia. Or my website, which is qhhtaustralia.com.au. They're probably the two easiest ways to find me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nadia. It's been such a joy. I will just pause for now and
No,
give it
thank
back to
you.
you. Perfect.